All right. Thank you all for joining the webinar session. My name is Moon Choi, and I'm from Google Play, and I'll be the presenter today. First of all, we're more than excited to have you all here, and we will go over updates made on the family's policy and actions to take from your end. Even if we introduced the policy in last May and spent some time to advocate the change, we would like to run this session to ensure that every single developers per play are aware of the update before we enforce the app starting this September. At the same time, I do apologize you that this session is not a live session and we will not be able to take any questions from you. However, I'll try my best to go through in details so that you will have clear understanding about the new families policy. With that, let's begin. Even though many of you should already have learned about the update from various channels we utilize to communicate with you, I'll first quickly go over what exactly are the changes. We introduced the new family policy and updated our Design for Families program policy. And this comes with a new ad network certification policy for apps that serve ads to children. To explain the background better, Google Play has been committed to providing a positive, safe environment for children and families. And after taking input from users and developers, we are evolving our policies around families to provide additional protections for children and families. These policy changes build on our existing efforts to ensure that apps for children have appropriate content, show suitable ads, and handle personally identifiable information correctly. They also reduce the chance that apps not intended for children could unintentionally attract them. So, the biggest change of this policy is that all applications must fill out the new target object and content section and declare which age level users their applications target. With the update, Google Play reserves the right to determine whether your app is appealing to children and whether your app needs to comply with additional policies that are relevant for children. When we decide that your app is attractive to children, there are certain requirements as part of the Families program, such as restriction on violent content that is not suitable for children and not using APIs that are not suitable for children. For more background information, we launched our Design for Families program in year 2015 with the intention to keep children's app safe in our platform. Over the course of time, we understood that many apps outside of the Design for Families program also contained elements that may appeal to children and may lead to accidental downloads. When your app is appealing to children, you are likely to subject to regulations such as US COPPA or EU GDPR. Thus, we're renewing our families policy to help and encourage all developers to comply with children-related regulations and requirements as a platform. So, which policy standard applies to whom? We will use the information you provide in the Google Play console, along with our own review of your app marketing assets, to categorize your app and apply policies according to the following target audience groups: children, children and older users, and older users. For most developers, the target audience does not include children, and this section should be relatively quick to complete. But if children are part of your target audience, we will ask you follow-up questions, and I will walk through some of the example processes in the later part of the session. If you see the table on the slide, there are 3 different target age groups and 2 different policies. First, if your target audience is children, your app must be compliant with both Families policy and Design for Families policy, which has more robust set of criteria to fulfill. If your target audience includes children, your app must be compliant with the Families policy, and it's up to your discretion to participate in Design for Families program or not. Lastly, if your target audience does not have children, make sure your marketing materials don't appeal to children's app, and you don't need to comply with neither Families policy nor Design for Families. However, please keep in mind that you will still need to follow Google Play policies and developer distribution agreement in general. And the second major change is that all ads delivered to children need to use a certified ad network. If your app is targeted only to children, you must use a Google Play certified ad network. If your app targets children and adults, you can use other ad network. However, you must ensure that all ads served to children are still from Google Play certified ad network. From here, best practice is to use a non-inductive way to ask the user's age, and then provide a different advertising network based on the user's age. Our certified businesses are listed on our Policy Center, so please check our Policy Center for more information. Also, as a starter, there are 8 ad networks, and we listed those ad network certification requirements from our Help Center along with interest form to submit. So please feel free to share this interest with ad networks who wish to become certified. Lastly, these changes affect every developer on Google Play. So if your app is already live on Google Play, please pay extra attention to the following session where I will go through key processes for you to take from your console. And before we move on, important dates to keep in mind. As of today, all new apps must comply with the updated policies. And by September 1st, 2019, all existing apps must have filled out the new target audience and content section when comply with the updated policies. As I mentioned, you may check out the policy and common violations in details from the Policy Center. So please take a look using the QR code above and ensure to meet all requirements of family policies. And before I move on to the deep dive section to show how to set up target audience, here's a sample quiz for you to understand what is a neutral age screen. Neutral age gate should not support a child to easily deceive his or her age. In other words, you should not design your age gate in a way that allows children to simply click through to verify that they're an adult. First option is that developer has pre-filled the date of birth and asks user to just accept or not. And second option does not have any pre-filled date of birth information, but has option for users to input their date of birth from drop-down. And the last option is asking whether if user is above 18 or not. Which option do you think is a compliant neutral age screen? The correct answer is second option. We encourage developers to build a neutral age screen where users can input or choose their own birthdays. If you see the first option, the developer has already pre-selected date of birth of user as an adult age, and the user can just tap the check mark to accept the preset age, which may allow kids to be served with adult ads. Similarly, in the third option, the developer is just asking if the user is above 18 or not, and this may also allow adult ads to be served to children. So a child who does not know how to read may still get through these incompliant age screen implementations just by simply tapping the screen, which is not an effective preventative measure. I hope this quiz gives you a clear guideline of how to implement a neutral age screen, and if your app is targeted to both kids and adults and serves ads. And here comes the key actions you must take from the developer console to become compliant with the new families policy. To start the process, you'll have to choose an app from your Play developer console and select App Content section. And you'll find an option to start the target audience and content setup process. Again, the policy applies to all apps that are published and the new apps, which means you really need to do this process for all published apps. Once you click the options to start, you will start the process with setting up target audience age group. Before declaring the target age group of the application, consider the target audience of your application and whether the child is indeed your target. If you choose any group under the age of 13, we will further ask questions about the content of the app, such as whether the app collects personally identifiable information, compliance with all applicable child-related laws and regulations, and ad usage. Then, we will review answers before the app is released, and if it violates families policy, the app may be rejected or removed from the store. If you indicate that your app's target audience does not include children under the age of 13, you don't have to fill out the follow-up questions in the targets and content section, as you are also not regulated by the families policy. I will also go through each scenario in the later part of the session to help you better understand each action item. And I know everyone must have different understanding of what are relevant contents, age group based. And I highly encourage you to visit the Help Center to see examples of relevant contents for each age group using either the link or QR code provided here. Please make sure to read the article thoroughly before you select target age group of each app. Also, because children's definitions vary greatly from culture to culture, we hope that you can consult with your legal expert to help determine which obligations and or age limits apply to your application. And step 2 is once you selected target age group, you will see app details page where you will need to instruct us whether your app has any restrictions to use, such as necessity of login credentials, authentication, membership, etc. Also, you will need to declare whether your app collects personally identifiable information and certify that the app complies with all applicable laws and regulations relating to children, such as COPPA and GDPR. Once you're finished with the app details page, you will need to declare whether your app contains ads and whether the ads are suitable for children, and certify that they are from Google Play certified ad networks. If you already have any published app, ads declaration will be automatically be filled in by using the information you have already provided through the console. And lastly, you will need to set up store presence, and there will be different scenarios based on your selection of target age groups. Opting in and setting up Design for Families program and declaring whether the App Store's listing might appeal to children or not are also possible actions to take on this stage. And I will make sure I'll go through different scenarios during deep dive session coming up very shortly. Once you finish the all 4 steps, you will see a summary page describing what you selected throughout the process. And you're ready to submit. And once you submit, our review team will review your app and information thoroughly and contact you if we find any violation. So I hope this section gave you overall information of what are the steps you will need to go through from Developer Console. And let's move on to the deep dive session. So deep dive session is going to be the last session of today's webinar. And I will go through 3 scenarios based on the 3 different target age groups: children, adults, and mixture of children and adults. So first scenario is for any apps that are only targeting children. So the scenario only applies when you select target age group from 0 to 12. So you may select from 1 or up to 3, all of 3 options depending on your app's content. And once you set your target age group, including any age group under 12, you will go through the app details and ads page, but I'll skip these 2 parts because I just walked them through in the previous session. And assuming you've done the part 2 and 3, you will then be reaching to this store presence page where you will need to choose a Design for Families category of your app. Again, as I mentioned earlier, it's mandatory that all apps that are only targeting children or age group from 0 to 12 must be opt-in Design for Families program, and you must choose the right category for your app or game here. And next scenario is for any apps that are only targeting older age group or adults. So opposite to scenario number 1, this scenario only applies when you select target age group from 13 to 18 plus. And also, you may select from 1 option or 2, or up to all of 3 options depending on your app's content. And since you selected the app is only targeting older age group, the app will not be impacted by neither the New Families Policy nor Design for Families program. So you will be skipping step number 2 and 3 and going straight to step number 4, store present setup page. So since this app will not be joining the Design for Families program, you will not have to select any category for Design for Families. However, you will need to declare whether the App Store listing could unintentionally appeal to children. So if you select an option, yes, my store listing could appeal to children, you will adapt a badge saying not designed for children in your store listing, as a sample mobile screenshot shows on the right side of the slide. And if you do not wish to adopt the badge, you will need to change your app icon, screenshots, and descriptions so that they don't appeal to children. And if you select an option no, my store listing does not appeal to children, you will not see any badge on your store listing. However, if our review team concludes that your app store listing appeals to children, you may not be able to update your app and will need to make corresponding changes to be compliant with our policy. So before moving on to the next scenario, since some of you may be wondering how Google Play will determine whether an app or a game's stored information might be appealing to children or not, and I'll quickly give you more background about it. So again, if you declare that your app's target is adult, Google Play may re-examine your app's marketing material. So we will use the regulatory guidelines as a preliminary review guide, and then check the application graphics, screenshots, terms used on the store information page, and etc. And then make a final assessment. And if your app might be appealing to children, we will ask you to change the target age level and/or change your marketing materials. And if you're not targeting children, please don't let your app inadvertently attract content that appeals to children. This is important because Play has the right to determine if your app targets children and whether your app is compliant with other child policies. So if you have a picture or video or content that you think is intended for a child, take special care not to publish any app store listing information which can unintentionally be appealing to children. Also, if you do not agree with our assessment, you can click on the link in the email notification you should have received to file a complaint. You can also resubmit your app at any time, and we will reevaluate your changes. So moving on to the third and the last scenario, any apps that are targeting both children and older age group. So this scenario applies when you select target age group that are a mixture of top 3 and bottom 3 options. And this scenario applies to the most of developers out there. So same as the other 2 scenarios, you can start the process by selecting target age group that you think your app targets. Then you will go through app details page to declare a collection of personally identifiable information and certification of compliance since your audience includes children, just as process for scenario number 1. Once you completed filling in information from the app details page, you will need to declare whether your app contains ads or not, and whether the ads in your app are suitable for children and from Google Play certified ad networks. And completing ads declaration in step number 3, you will find an option asking if you'd like to the app to be part of Design for Families program. And please pay extra attention here. So if you join the program, you don't need to implement the neutral age screen. However, you will not be able to serve any ads targeting adults on the app, even if adults are part of your current user groups. And be compliant with the Design for Families policy, which has stricter and more robust policies than just regular policy. On the other hand, you can also decide not to join the program to continue to serve any ads targeting your older group of people. But you will need to implement a neutral age screen and use certified ad network to serve any ads to children. Since this is a scenario which applies to most of you out there, this is the most crucial part of the new families policy, and hope you guys grasp the essence of it. So this ends our introduction to the new families policy, and we also have Play Console Help Center, Twitter ID, and Facebook pages to answer any questions you may have. So please feel free to reach out via any channel you prefer the most. Also, we recommend you to take the training course available from Play Academy before starting the target audience and content section so that you clearly understand the implications of your answers. You can use the QR code or link here to access the training program. And once again, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already to receive latest news and webinars on our policy updates. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you all for watching and listening. And we really appreciate for this opportunity to talk more about the new families policy. Also, your feedback helps us a lot to improve ourselves. So please share us your thoughts about this session using the URL or QR code here. Thank you and have a great day.